myself, they are brought into a position where policies are being decided. So, but today, I am speaking on behalf of consumers, not as a director, because still I have to attend the first meeting. Particularly, I am focusing this issue with respect to open access, difficulties of consumers, and the issues which should be taken up by the policy deciders. And I will be stressing on those issues. Coming to the open access regulations, the regulations, long pending regulations, has been framed by the Commission in Maharashtra in 2014. Only some issues I am highlighting. This is for these intellectual people sitting here, that whether qualifying criteria should be restricted to 1 megawatt only. Now, if you see the section 42, it says, State Commission shall not later than 5 years from the date of commencement of Electricity Amendment Act by regulations provide such open access to all consumers who require supply of electricity where the maximum power to be made available at any time exceeds 1 megawatt. Now, what it says? It says that not later than 5 years, that means within 5 years, all the consumers of 1 megawatt should be shifted to open access. They should be deemed open access consumers. But it doesn't bar that open access eligibility is restricted to 1 megawatt. This issue I am taking up. Until this is resolved, when we talk about development of competition in the power sector, why such restrictions should be there? If at all we want that competition should be developed, these restrictions of limitations should be brought down. I think in some states it is already brought down. And fortunately for Vidarbha, government has recently announced there will be zero cross subsidy for open access consumers in Vidarbha. Then I have suggested that hardly 20 to 25 consumers may opt open access in Vidarbha because of these restrictions. It should be brought down to 100 kilowatt, and government has agreed. Now there is a policy is being made for Vidarbha particularly that open access consumers there will be zero cross subsidy and eligibility criteria will be brought down to 100 kilowatt. Another thing, there is a restriction here by the regulator for day-ahead transactions in power market. If this is so, then how this single shift and two shift people can opt for open access? So I also suggested that start from Vidarbha. Allow day-ahead transactions from power exchanges for Vidarbha consumers. Then right message will go for a right type of competition in this sector. And this issue in the first agenda, in the first meeting of holding company is being taken up. And I think there will be a positive decision and this will be implemented and a direction shall be issued to the Commission under 108 by the government so that this can be come through a direction because this cannot be through a petition. Dr. Dea, I want reaction on whatever your reaction on this issue, what I have taken up, how it should go about. No, these were the opinions of different lawmakers. If there are deemed open access consumers as per the Act beyond 5 years, 1 megawatt will be deemed open access consumers, then whether Commission will have jurisdiction to decide tariff for consumers above 1 megawatt. So the directive from Ministry of Power on 30/11/2011 with respect to open access, and it says that Ministry of Power, Government of India issued a directive for implementation in all states of India after seeking consultation with Ministry of Law and Justice, and said that Section 42 read with the first and fifth provision is a self-contained code with regards to consumers who require the supply of electricity from 1 megawatt and above, and accordingly the state of electricity regulatory commissions cannot continue to regulate the tariff of supply of electricity to any consumer above 1 megawatt. So this was the based on the provisions of the Act, and mind were churned, and this was decided by the Ministry of Power, but it is not really implemented. Then again, same was the opinion of Solicitor General of India, then opinion of Attorney General of India, of Supreme Court, opinion of Second Task Force constituted by Planning Commission. Everybody opined the same thing, but till today it is not clear, it is not implemented. Now some question arises, if this happens, whether consumers of 1 megawatt and above are deemed open access consumers and shall have a choice of purchase of power from cheaper sources including discount, whether the tariff of such consumers shall not be regulated by the Commission and the heavy burden of cross subsidy shall not be loaded to such consumers. Now coming to the proposed draft, some solutions are suggested in the proposed draft, which is in the amended, which is being amended. Electricity Act 2003 is being amended, and the draft suggests some solutions on this. In the proposed draft of amendment of Electricity Act 2003, there is a provision of supply licensee whose tariff shall not be decided by the Commission, but principles on which tariff shall be based shall be decided by the Commission. Commission will simply decide the principles on which tariff of these supply license. Supply license is a new concept. So there will be a number of supply licensee in an area whose tariff shall not be regulated by the Commission, but some principles will be decided by the Commission. Based on that, the tariff of these supply licensee shall be there. My interpretation is that based on the geographical location of the area, based on tariff of incumbent licensing, there is a provision of incumbent licensing, because universal supply obligations will not be there on the supply licensing. So there has to be an incumbent licensee in that area, which will be a government-owned company, who will have a universal supply obligations to supply a subsidized rate to other consumers. When this is so, that licensee will have to be compensated something on cross subsidy surcharge. So what will happen? So for these supply licenses, Commission will decide a cross subsidy to be given to the incumbent licensee. But this is in the draft stage, and we have to submit our suggestions. This is open to this forum to discuss this issue, what should be there, what should be there in the policy, and how we should go ahead on this, because this is a very important issue and which will decide the future course of our electricity sector. So we are going back to cross subsidy surcharge, but one thing is that tariff will not be regulated. Simply the procedure shall be regulated. Now MYT, coming to MYT. What MYT is a performance-based tariff, but whether we are truly following MYT in its true sense, I don't think so. There is a word simple MYT, but tariff regulators and these tariff principles are being followed by the old fashioned expenditure account, and everything is allowed. In spite of the fact that MYT tariff regulation says it should be a performance-based tariff, bases are to be decided, then based on performance, then Commission will allow to increase the tariff, or there some variables are there like fuel cost, distribution losses, everything. But it is not being followed in its true sense. So as I said, there will be a...
So there's no difference in name and feature. Even if you
So what happens? Supply licensee will have its own authority to buy power from anybody. Like you are talking about what will have to be standard capacity of generators. Now after this is implemented, supply licensee may negotiate with the generators for the purchase of power. And based on the purchase of power rate and adding some cross subsidy as decided by the commission, he can decide the sale rate. Because his sale rate is not controlled by the commission. But there is a bar that maximum ceiling rate of tariff commission will decide, and that will be dependent on the tariff of incumbent licensee. The tariff of incumbent licensee shall be decided by the commission, and that will be a maximum ceiling for these supply licenses. So there is, Mr. Haridor, there is a change. That means we are going towards some competition. Of course, there is a cross subsidy surcharge, but what Act says, cross subsidy surcharge should be progressively reduced. Unfortunately, in Maharashtra, till today, there is no regulation made for roadmap made for reduction of cross subsidy, though we are trying since last 5, 6, 10 years. I remember a committee was made in 2010 for making the regulations, for drafting the regulations for making roadmap for reduction of cross subsidy, and I was member in that committee. We have drafted, we have suggested, but still it is in doldrum. Because because I am on the other side also, I cannot say anything. But you understand what is happening to that. You can ask me questions lively if at all you want anything to be asked of us.
That's what I said. This has been an interactive session because what you said is very, very important. And I think the reason why I'm asking is we have just finished one round of the Electricity Act amendment yesterday in Delhi. We had a seminar. If you go back to the earlier slide for a minute, you see, on the one hand, you are reducing the cross subsidy surcharge as per the Act. On the other hand, you are having supply licenses. What I am not clear about, maybe you can clear it for me also and for everyone, is under the new regime, the legacy contracts will get transferred to the holdco. The holdco will be the government-owned supply company, supply license. So obviously, the obligations that are being farmed off to the open access consumer today will indirectly also come back to the open access consumer tomorrow. So competition will become again restricted. So there will not be true competition as such, because the cross subsidy burden will come to any open access consumer.
Very good question. I will answer this question. Sir, what is happening today in determination process, tariff determination process? If you see that power purchase cost of the licensing, coming to Goenka, that is a government-owned company. Goenka power is not being purchased through competitive bidding process. It is cost plus basis, and all the inefficiencies are being passed on to the consumers. You know, every time this about 6 times tariff is revised. AEC charges, then IC charges, and all those charges. I have taken up this issue with Competition Commission of India, and I have challenged that these people are killing competition. And first time in India, against a distribution company, Competition Commission of India initiated inquiry. That inquiry is going on. Unfortunately, previous managing director of MSEDCL tried to halt this process and filed a petition in High Court of Delhi that Competition Commission of India doesn't have jurisdiction to do inquiry in such issues. Fortunately, when new MD joined, he did the first thing, he withdrew that petition from the High Court. When I had a talk to him, I congratulated him that at least now you are ready to face this inquiry. Let us be very clear, let us be open that whether we are really killing the competition or we are going ahead to develop the competition. So in my opinion, I think your question is answered. These people cannot reduce the tariff because now Goenka plants are power is purchased without competitive bidding process, and their cost varies from 2 rupees up to 5 rupees 50 paisa. Even in merit order purchase, what they are doing, they are clubbing all the Genco plants into one, saying that 3 rupees 34 paisa is their average cost of supply. So in merit order purchase, they are purchasing all the power including 5 rupees 50 paisa power. So supply licensee will not have such restrictions. He will buy power, cheapest power available in the market.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, what I'm seeing is a limited understanding of this topic what I have. We are basically trying to penalize a person who's using more power. And who that person is? Typically an industrialist who's creating a job, who's doing something, as our Prime Minister is fond of saying, making India, right? And taking more money from him and trying to subsidize a consumer who's consuming less power, basically a residential consumer, and that's why your cost subsidy comes in. Now that, to me, it seems a very weird way of doing things. Ideally, the person who is, because nobody is eating electricity, they generally use it for industry, which in turn does something good. Ideally, there should not be any cross subsidy charge to the industrialists or people who are consuming more power. If government wants to subsidize residential power or rural power, they must find some other way rather than just taxing all the people who are using more power. It could be any kind of other surcharge on whole society rather than just to industries. That's my simple submission on this. And can you elaborate why this kind of thought process doesn't exist with the policy?
Answer to your question lies in the Electricity Act itself. Electricity Act itself, section 42 says that there has to be a cost subsidy, which is to be cost subsidized by the subsidizing people. But it has to reduce. It has to reduce, and a roadmap is to be made for reduction. And national tariff policy says that should be within the limit of plus minus 20%, which is not happening till today. You may be knowing earlier days why electricity duty is being implemented. Electricity duties was first implemented for this issue only, for cross-subsidizing those people who need the cross-subsidy. But now electricity duty is also being charged, and these cross-subsidies are also being charged. So I am leaving it to you that what should be done, what we should propose to government. I am leaving it to you. In my opinion, electricity duty should be totally eliminated in this. Sale on power should be totally eliminated. When you are taking cross subsidy in another way, you cannot twice penalize the same people, same type of consumers. I want your reactions on this, whatever I am saying.
My reaction is you are absolutely 10 out of 10. Real, I self-studied the electricity duty Bombay Act 1958, and you absolutely 10 out of 10. You can't have a subsidy surcharge and electricity duty being imposed on the consumer. One has to go.
One has to go. That means when Electricity Act 2003 was implemented, on that day, electricity duty should have been eliminated. But nobody has taken up this issue till today. Again, you pointed out that reduction in contract demand. This issue is again very difficult issue. If you are allowing through power market, if day ahead is allowed, now at present week ahead power market purchases are allowed. But what this regulation says that contract demand will be reduced for a whole month. Even if you purchase power for a week ahead, how you can reduce the contract demand for a whole month? And if contract demand is reduced, even if you consume the power, you will be charged temporary supply rates. So as I said earlier, that day-ahead market should be allowed because single shift and two shift people cannot go into competitive market till this is allowed. Now coming to a sharp treatment to you. This is a recent tariff proposal filed by MSCDC. Earlier it was filed at just 1 month prior to this. Proposal was filed with Commission, in which the tariff for industries was suggested to 7 rupees 20 paisa plus a demand charge of 220. Now suddenly it has gone up to 8 rupees 16 paisa per unit for HT consumers with a demand charge of 220. I'm not going to every tariff because there is time restriction. Then again, wheeling charges are proposed to be increased for 33 kV level to 22 paisa at present, which is 11 paisa. And see this cross subsidy surcharge. This is the proposal. For HT industry, cross subsidy surcharge is proposed as 3 rupees 88 paisa. And I have calculated considering this cross subsidy surcharge and today's market rate available power. Today market rate, I will tell you, at transmission periphery is 3 rupees 60 paisa nearly. And if all these charges are added, your open access cost will be more than the higher proposed tariff by the MSCDC. It will be higher than that. MSCDC tariff comes to 9 rupees 1 paisa including demand charges. And if you go to open access, with today's market rate, considering this cross subsidy surcharge, it will be even higher than the electricity side. The average cost of supply is now projected 6 rupees 87 paisa. Even if cross subsidy is made zero to you, the cost will be 6 rupees 87 paisa. Now, coming to what should be the actual cross subsidy surcharge? Even if you see this proposed tariff, let us see the proposed tariff. In this, the average proposed tariff of industry is 8 rupees 97 paisa. There is a power factor incentive which is being reduced from 7% to 5%. I have considered that, and 1% prompt payment discount. The tariff comes to 8 rupees 43 paisa. No, 8 rupees 43 paisa minus average cost of supply comes to 6 rupees 87 paisa. So what is the actual cross subsidy now? As per their proposal itself, consumer is paying, that is 1 rupees 56 paisa. Now from where this 388 has come? It has come from the tariff formula suggested in National Tariff Policy. Dr. Dev, I don't think it is necessary to follow the National Tariff Policy formula because it is simply a guiding principle. What is happening in Maharashtra? There is a huge gap in power purchase cost and power sale cost. Average power purchase cost of MSCDC is 3 rupees 46 paisa. Average power purchase cost considering all the purchases cheaper and higher cost. And what is the sale rate? Average sale rate is 6 rupees 87 paisa. When there is a huge gap and that formula is based on avoided methodology, avoided cost purchase. Even if you avoid the cost purchase and consider the tariff of the consumer as the 9 rupees, that formula will give 3 rupees 88 paisa. So, even policymaker did not think that the power which is being purchased at 100 rupees will be sold at 250 rupees. So, the in-between charges, all these expenditure account are increased so much that your power purchase cost is added by 2.5 times as the sale rate. So that formula is should not be at all applicable. Go to a practical way.
Let me have a question. Two questions, quick ones. One, what happens to this formula and cross subsidy once the Electricity Act is amended, where you have carried content of A? B, it's not challengeable because you are again increasing the cross subsidy surcharge, whereas the Act says you have to reduce it.
That's true. Today's cross subsidy surcharge, say 1 rupees 18 paisa, cannot be increased beyond that as per the provisions of the Act. So in the proposal, there is violation of the Act also in the proposal. Actual consideration of what cross-subsidy consumer is paying is also not being considered. I have done some calculations based on if we pay this cross-subsidy to MSCDCL and consider the avoided cost methodology. I will go to second slide. See this slide. The highest power purchase cost, actually Bhusawal is not the highest, Nashik is the highest. This was my earlier calculation. The units purchased shall be avoided and this much purchase cost shall be reduced. Recently, I have taken one data from MSCDCL. Total HT industrial energy sales in Maharashtra is 22,000 million units. Even say 50% of this is for above 1 megawatt. Even for 50% consumer opt open access, and this cross subsidy surcharge is being paid, then MSCDC will gain 3,300 crores extra. This itself says that this cross subsidy surcharge is wrong. I will give this slide of calculation. I will not go. This is not the forum to go into details of this calculation. So this is for you, and to decide here what should be the cross subsidy surcharge. These are the comparative figures of all the states in Maharashtra. See the cross subsidy surcharge. Gujarat 62 paisa, Madhya Pradesh 1 rupees 8 paisa, Haryana 1 rupees 48 paisa. So everything is maximum, it is 1 rupees 25 paisa. But in Maharashtra we are suggesting 3 rupees 88 paisa. A small presentation on another issue. I think I am not running out of time.
No, I'm just thinking that the issue of this cross subsidy remains unanswered when you break up contingent tariff A and B. What we're also suggesting is MSCDCL should not buy power from the high cost power generation stations.
Definitely.
And rather opt for buying from outside, which some other states have already adopted.
Yes. So my submission is that even state generating plants should come under competitive bidding process. When everybody will have an equal opportunity, then I have got a thought process also. I discussed this with the Power Minister also. That economical shutdown of uneconomical plants and buy this power of standard capacity, who are ready to sell the power nearly rupees 3 rupees 50 paisa. I talk to these people. They are ready to sell power at 3 rupees 50 paisa. Then why we are buying power at 5 rupees 50 paisa? Let us economically close down those plants. Now, another thing is that in this tariff formula, we should consider avoided cost formula I am talking about, that T is the tariff of the consumer, C is the average cost of power purchase. In C, average cost of power purchase, we should include the fixed cost also, but they are not considering the fixed cost. That is the other issue. I don't think I will much speak on this formula. It is slightly complicated issue for this audience today. But I think I have given much more thoughts for thinking and arriving to some deliberations on this issue, that what should be done. So thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you so much.